When I was young, I went into the British Army at the age of 18 for 3 years, and among other things I had to learn Chinese, and then the British War Office being what it is, I was sent to Ceylon, as it then was, or Sri Lanka. Now these events had a dramatic impact upon me because they meant that I was exposed to two civilizations, both of which involved Buddhism. The latter more intensely, of course, Sri Lankan. The Sri Lankan experience is very much that of Buddhism. I was exposed to those civilizations about which I knew nothing at that time, and about which most people in Europe or America knew virtually nothing. And that left a big impression on me, and when I did graduate work at Oxford, I moved towards working in the history and philosophy of religion, as it was then described. And so that was a formative period for me. Then what you have to realize is that as far as the study of religion goes, there was very little of it at that time. There were no departments of religious studies in England or Scotland, or for that matter hardly at all in the United States. Of course there were departments of religion, some of which got to look like what we now call religious studies. For example, Princeton had a good showing in Indian religions and other non-European, non-Western studies. But it was not really till much later that you got religious studies as we now conceive it. And indeed, at the University of Lancaster, where eventually I was in England, I started the first department of religious studies in Britain. Before that, everything was theology. For that matter, mainly Anglican theology, English theology, some Catholic theology very occasionally, and so on. And in moving towards religious studies in the 60s, it involved a revolution in the subject. And the same occurred in the 60s in the United States, because the departments of religious studies began to be formed in public universities where it was, so to say, illegal to have only one sort of theology or expression of belief, and so they became much wider.